Hey, so this is the last episode of season 6. I don't even know how many podcast episodes I've done at this point. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of the Courage Crew and trusting me as someone who can guide and mentor you in becoming a more courageous fundraiser and leader and human being in general. So I just want to say thanks. And today, this episode is about how to build confidence. I think the thing that all of us want is to feel more confident. That's pretty normal. Feeling confident feels really great. And so I'm going to break down for you how I've built confidence, how I've seen my incredible clients build confidence. What are the practical things that you can do? What are the practical things that I've done that I recommend to become a more confident person and what that even means? So let's just get into it. What is confidence? Confidence is self-trust. Confidence is self-trust. Do you trust yourself? Do you feel confident? Can you confide in you? Are you trustworthy? How do we know if someone's trustworthy? Let's just take ourselves out of it. Who do you trust in this life? There are people you likely trust. Why do you trust them? Because they're consistent, because they keep their word, because they're dependable, they're reliable, they do what they say they're going to do. This is usually why we trust people. So this is what makes someone trustworthy. And it's the same with our relationship with ourselves, right? So do you trust yourself? Do you trust your own instincts, your own ideas? And a way that you can know if you trust yourself is, do you take action on your ideas, on what you think you should do for you, right? Based on your own standards, your own inspiration that may come to you, like, oh, I think I should do this. And then do you actually do it? If you make a promise to yourself, do you execute on that? Or are you challenged by keeping your word to yourself? I don't know if you're familiar with Gretchen Rubin's The 4 Tendencies. So folks who typically come and work with me, who are more drawn to me, often are people who will maintain the expectations that other people put on them and often let themselves down or break their promises that they make to themselves. So the 4 Tendencies quiz is assessing what motivates you. And a lot of folks who are in the nonprofit space, in the nonprofit world, there are all kinds of people in the nonprofit world, amazing, hardworking people. Many of them are what Gretchen Rubin calls I think it's the obligers, where you're more likely to break your word to yourself, but keep your word to others. There's another type, if you're curious about my type, is called the rebel, where you don't really care about you're not motivated by keeping your word to other people, and you also are not motivated by keeping your word to yourself. So you're just basically a rebel, which is like exceedingly fun and a pain in the ass. So that's me. And the reason that this matters is because when you understand your own psychology and how you work and what motivates you, then you can hack your own psychology to get the results that you want. So if you want to raise more money and you're an obliger, you're motivated by external expectations, then getting in a group, having a coach, having a mentor, being surrounded by peers, and having accountability will change everything for you. Game changing. Because now people know that you intend to raise more money. Your goal is to have a bigger impact, to take bigger risks, to build your confidence and become a bolder, braver leader. And so when other people know about what your intentions are, when you put some heat on that, and in Courage Lab and with my one-on-one clients, I'll say, give yourself a deadline. And so there's never a time in any of my programs where folks are just, I'm going to just dilly-dally and do whatever, whenever, and it's completely self-study and there's no sense of accountability. It's actually you are accountable to yourself, and we're all in this together, and you give yourself a deadline. And then you can come back into the group and report back how it went, and we can celebrate with you. So Gretchen Rubin's 4 Tendencies quiz, super fascinating. And it's really helpful for you to understand your motivation and then put yourself in environments that are suited to your motivation so that you can actually get better results. You need to have the right environment and the right factors in play so that you can get what you want to get done, right? So confidence is self-trust. Do you trust yourself? How do you build self-trust? How do you build confidence? The way that you build confidence is courage. What's courage? Courage is, if you've been listening, you know, because I talk about this all the time. Courage is the risks that we take. It's action that we take on behalf of others. So what risk do you need to take? What action have you been putting off or you know you need to do? When you're low in confidence, you're lower in self-trust. Typically, folks, if you're listening, this may sound like you. You're low in self-trust. Why? Because you break your word to yourself. You tell yourself, okay, I'm going to work out today, and you work a really long work day. There's a lot of emails. There's fires you have to put out. Your kids need help with their homework. You're exhausted, and you don't end up working out. You break your word to yourself. And it's easy to do, right? I mean, oh my gosh, we all do this. And typically, when you break your word to yourself, a lot of folks are keeping their word to other people. So they're more likely to give in to obligation, which also erodes self-trust. Because if you say yes to something that you don't really want to do, you're not all in, you're not thrilled and excited and convicted to do it. There's not a sense of enthusiasm. It's not a hell yes for you, but you feel you should do it. I know this all too well. This is how I used to live my life. There are things I should do as blank, fill in the blank, as an employee, as a friend, as a sister. There are things that I'm, quote, supposed to do to be a good fill in the blank. And so I need to fulfill that. And that was, a big part of my story was building boundaries and figuring out what I really wanted and who I wanted to be and what my standards were for myself. What are my values, separate from what other people expect? And what kind of life am I trying to build? Who do I want to be by design, not by default? And how can I lead myself well so that I'm not living out of obligation? That was a really big part of becoming a confident person and developing self-trust, was listening to my own desires, my own intuition, my own dreams, and then taking action towards them. And if other people were disappointed in that, then that's their personal problem. It's not my responsibility to make the people around me satisfied and happy. It's my responsibility to be me, to fulfill my purpose and my mission that I've been given. There is an assignment that you have in this world. There is a purpose that you have in this world that you are meant to do. I believe that. I believe that each of us are given an assignment. And if you ignore that for the sake of fulfilling obligations, you will be resentful, you will be bitter, and you will actually see other people take up that assignment. And that will be like so painful to witness other people living out the dream that you were supposed to fulfill. I know that got pretty deep there. Back to confidence. So what I typically see in the nonprofit world is we say yes to a lot of things we shouldn't. We say no to a lot of things that we should say yes to. So we keep out the good and we let in the bad. Our boundaries are all twisted up because we are accustomed to maintaining other people's expectations of ourselves and letting our word be broken to us. And so that's the exact reverse is to build confidence. To become more confident, you need to keep your word to yourself. To become more confident, you need to be doing the things that you're afraid to do. Courage. Courage creates confidence. It's not the other way around. You do not become a confident person somehow by osmosis or magic or positive thinking or saying affirmations in the mirror. Nothing inherently wrong with that, but that alone is not going to get you to be more confident. If it did, maybe everybody would be confident. What builds confidence is that you know that you can trust yourself to do what you said you were going to do because you've actually done what you said you were going to do. You have fulfilled your promise. You've kept it. So if you wake up and you say, okay, I want to work out today, and you don't do it, now your relationship with yourself is that you break your word with yourself. And that is exactly why we don't trust people, because they break their word, right? It's the same thing with yourself, your relationship with yourself. If you say, I want to raise $1 million, and you don't, and you never have, but you continue to have huge goals that you don't hit, that will erode your confidence. And you not only need to step out in courage and do things that you're afraid to do to become more confident, but you need to, the only way you can actually do that is if you elevate who you are around. You need to get around people who are more brave than you. If you are struggling with confidence and you're surrounded by people who have low confidence, then it's no wonder that you don't feel confident. And you need to get around people who are encouraging you to trust yourself and your voice and your instincts. If you're too timid in fundraising, then you've got to get around people who are more direct and bold, who've raised more money than you, who've got more meetings than you, who've had more reps, who've made more mistakes. This is kind of obvious, but if you're around people and you are the most skilled, the most talented, and you're trying to get to the next level, you've got to get around people who are more skilled and more talented than you. So you cannot expect to get better in the environment that you've been in that has been getting you the results that you've been getting. You've got to get in a different environment, get close to people who are braver, bolder, more direct, who are raising more money, who are embodying what you hope to become more of. So here's some practical things you can do, right? What are some practical things? Write down the things. Make a list of the things that you know you need to do that you've been putting off, okay? And then ask someone in your life to hold you accountable and give yourself a deadline. Put it on your calendar. Schedule it. If you need time to execute on that thing, put that on your calendar. Let your person who you're asking to hold you accountable, hey, I'm going to be doing this on Wednesday at 1 p.m. At 2 p.m., I'm going to let you know that I got it done. If that's what you need to do the things that you've been putting off because you're motivated by external expectations, then do that, right? And this is what I do with my clients. This is what I do inside Courage Lab with my group coaching and training program is we are constantly giving ourselves a deadline. You know what's on your plate, so you know when you can get something done by. It doesn't make any sense that I would give you some external deadline. I don't know your life. I don't know everything you've got going on in your calendar. You do. So give yourself a deadline. And what ends up happening is they raise hundreds of thousands of dollars even in like the first 6 months of the year. We're not talking about the big money months of Q3 and Q4 and the end of the year fundraising. We're talking about raising $560,000 as a small one-person shop from January through June because there is accountability in place, because there is a framework where you can actually apply becoming a more courageous person and raising more money faster as a result of that. So make a list of the things that you've been afraid to do them, keep your word to yourself, and then actually track your habits. This is key because if you do not write down and reflect and look at how far you've come, then how you see yourself will not change. You will not be able to recognize and see how different you are, how far you've come. This is really important. We do not make enough time for reflection. And so we think that we're just our old self, and we're not. You have changed quite a bit. You have grown. You have evolved. And so looking at the last 30 days, make a list of the things, the risks that you took, what you're proud of yourself for, what you've actually done that you were not doing before. Take stock of that. Really meditate on it. Practice gratitude. Like, wow, I'm grateful to myself. I'm grateful to God for helping me to have the strength to do this. I'm grateful for my mentor, for my community, for supporting me. I'm grateful for this life. Reflect. You may actually be taking more risks and becoming a more courageous person and not building confidence because you don't see clearly how far you've come. And that only happens when you actually track what you're doing and then you take time to regularly reflect on how far you've come. Because honestly, it's hard to even know in the last 90 days, right? Or even the last 6 months. Have I really changed that much, right? You might be able to look back 5 years, 10 years and think, yeah, I'm very different than I was 5 or 10 years ago. That's much easier to do. But to think about how you've changed recently and how far you've come, that's harder to do. And so it takes tracking your habits, writing things down, and looking and seeing, wow, I'm going to make it a habit that at the end of every month, I'm going to look at the previous month and see the results that I've created, the action steps that I've taken. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to actually count all the risks that I took and how I'm proud of myself. This will change how you feel about you. You'll be like, wow, I did a lot in the last 30 days. And then guess what? If you do this again in the next 30 days, you're building momentum. You're going to start being able to take bigger risks. You're going to grow in courage even more. It's going to feel great to keep your word to yourself. You're going to get in that positive momentum that builds confidence. When we're constantly ruminating, overthinking, we're in self-protective mode, which is like the opposite of courage, right? It's overthinking is never like, I'm going to think about all these positive things all the time and just be consumed with positivity, right? Overthinking is like, oh, here's all the things that could go wrong. And that's why, these are all the reasons why I don't want to take this risk. Well, when you start taking risks, even if they're really small, and celebrating that, that helps you to see that you're making forward progress. Because you can look before and you can see you weren't hardly asking for anything, right, with fundraising. Or, I had a client who I've shared on the pod, raised an $810,000 gift. Before we started working together, she was not asking for those gifts. That is a huge moment. I've been working with clients who are asking way more consistently. So not just the end of the year. They're asking 5-figure donors to give 6-figure gifts and multi-year pledges in the month of May, in the month of June, which is awesome, right? And they're getting a yes. Why? Because they've put themselves in an environment that helps them to hack their own motivations and psychology, that there are external expectations. There is a mentor and there's peer support. There's a community of folks who are coming alongside them that act as accountability. And we all need some level of accountability. Some of us just need it more directly than others. And if it raises several $100,000 in a matter of months, that's totally worth the investment. There is no shame in needing accountability. And courage is what creates confidence. Courage creates confidence. It's not the other way around. We think that if we feel more confident, we'll take courageous steps forward. And it's actually the reverse. When you start to take courageous steps forward, that's when you become a more confident person. But again, if you don't reflect on how far you've come, if you don't celebrate how you have evolved, you won't see it as clearly. It'll be hard to actually elevate your self-confidence. You won't recognize how you have actually become a more trustworthy person. When you do what you say you're going to do and you keep your word to yourself and you eliminate obligation in your life, you will become more confident. Because you can see that part of why you are fulfilling other people's expectations, it's a form of people pleasing, right? It's a way to maintain some kind of control, to make people happy by meeting their expectations, even when you don't want to do something. This is really common in the nonprofit world. And in order to become more confident, getting rid of obligation and leaning into your own intuition, your own ideas, your own standards, that ultimately matters more. And when we're looking for validation or self-worth from other people, right? It's ultimately, other people can never fill that need, because it's really about yourself and how you feel about you. If you believe that you're worthy as you are, then you won't really need anybody else to validate that. But when you feel like you aren't worthy, you'll constantly be seeking validation from others, even though it will never satisfy that desire, that need. It won't ever be enough, because it's an inside job, because it's really about what you think about you. And that's how you become a more confident person, is you start to live up to your own standards. You discover even what those are for yourself. You become more intentional. You become someone who is living by design. You uphold your own values. and you make decisions based on who you want to be. Do you want to become a braver, kinder, more compassionate person? Do you want to be a better leader, a better communicator, a bolder fundraiser who makes a bigger difference with the hours that you put in at work? Do you want to become more effective with what you're doing in fundraising? If that's your North Star, who you become, right, then that is what helps you to build self-confidence, making decisions and taking calculated risks that will help you to become that person. If you want to be a more courageous person, then do what courageous people do and get around more courageous people than you. If you want to be a more loving person, get around more loving people. It sounds really simple. It's really hard to do. And becoming more confident is a constant journey. There's not really a destination where you can say, oh, I'm fully confident now. I'm cooked. I'm done. Woohoo. I'm done with my confidence journey. There is a journey you can go on to become super trusting in yourself and to listen to yourself and to follow your own standards at a totally new level. There's really no ceiling to this, to how confident you can become. And the difference between confidence and arrogance is that arrogance is it's actually rooted in insecurity. They might look similar to you, but arrogance is the lie of competence, the facade of trustworthiness without any proof. So arrogant people typically lie to themselves. And then they end up perpetuating that lie to you. And that's why it feels so inauthentic, because it is. Confidence is rooted in proof. It's rooted in credibility. It's rooted in action. So real, authentic confidence is based on, I have gotten results because I took action and I know who I am. I'm not trying to prove anything. I'm not insecure, and I don't think too highly of myself, and I don't think too lowly of myself either. Confidence is, I trust who I am, where I'm at right now. I know that I'm a work in progress, and I know that I can trust myself and I'm capable of figuring it out. Even if I fail, I can get up and go again. I trust me. I'm trustworthy because when I say I'm going to do something, usually I'm going to do it. And I give myself grace when I miss the mark. Right? I'm not looking for flawless perfection here. There's no such thing. So that's the difference between confidence and arrogance. And I think, of course, none of us want to be arrogant. And I've definitely been arrogant in the past. I've thought of myself as much higher than I actually am because I was lying to myself about who I was. I thought I was kinder and more loving than I actually was. I was actually more self-absorbed and self-focused than what I realized because I wasn't really willing to look in the mirror. And again, it comes from reflection, right? So if I back then had really looked at the evidence, like what is it that I'm doing? What are the courageous things that I'm doing? I really wouldn't have been able to write down much because it was rooted in just that I thought I was deserving of certain recognition or that I thought I was really great, but I wasn't actually being courageous. I was just doing things that I thought I was really good at. I don't know if this resonates with you, but yeah, I think confidence comes from doing things maybe you aren't good at. And realizing that you can learn, you can get up and go again and iterate and grow and evolve as a human being. and develop a skill eventually. Whereas arrogance is like you're kind of intoxicated by your own talent, and there may or may not be credibility behind that. I hope this is helpful. We do not become more courageous on our own, and confidence comes from courage. Courage creates confidence, not the other way around. And the way we become more courageous is in community, is with peers, with a mentor. We do not become more courageous in isolation. We do not get better in isolation. We know this. And so you've got to get around people and in the right environment with the right conditions to be able to become more courageous and therefore build confidence. Being courageous and doing courageous things can be a habit for you. That can be a lifestyle. That can be a way of living. It definitely has become that way for me. I didn't want to put this podcast on YouTube, but I'm like, you know what? I think that's going to help people. And I'm willing to give it a shot, even if nobody cares. And hopefully, if you're watching this, it's somewhat entertaining and it's useful to you in your life. And I really do hope that you become a better human being, a better leader, a more courageous fundraiser after listening to this podcast. That's my hope, that it has an impact. And I'm willing to do the thing that makes me uncomfortable in order to have a positive impact. Because it isn't about me. It's about you. And helping you to see it's totally possible for you to become a more confident person. And that becoming a more confident person is a journey. It's going to take time, and that's okay. Take stock of how far you've come. You've likely taken risks that you were not taking this time last year. Write it down. I'd love to hear some of the risks that you've taken. Share them in the comments. And, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Share it. We've got to get better at celebrating how far we've come. This is imperative for building momentum to keep going, especially when it gets tough. If it's not tough right now, we know it's going to get tough, right? So celebrate your wins, reflect on how far you've come, and you will shape the way that you see yourself. You will see how you have evolved. You've kept your word even when it was hard, and you've become a more trustworthy person with you. You can trust yourself more, and that's what confidence is. So until next time, thanks for listening. Bye.